here come the dollies. They got fresh sinkers, hot coffee, and the sweetest smile.
Welcome back to the Clubmobile, everybody. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back.
Joining us today, I feel so excited to say this. I've been so excited to say it all day. The one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Freddie Joe Farnsworth is hanging out with us today.
Yeah, legend in my own mind, you guys.
Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. Seriously.
Yes, ma'am. It's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to it for like 2 months now.
I know. We've been very busy. I wouldn't say behind, but we've been very busy and trying to find
October became kind of a bit of a slog because we just had so much going on that we actually blacked out a couple of weekends where we just couldn't even do anything. But
yeah, you got to do that. So just got back from Fredericksburg, which was amazing.
Oh yeah,
yes,
it was awesome.
Some pictures of that. It looked like a great time.
It was probably, I do a lot of those events, and that was probably one of the best I've ever been on. Really. Fredericksburg is phenomenal. The museum, the staff that work at the museum, and this one was a little different when we did the symposium in New Orleans for Band of Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like they pushed all the fans, try to keep them away from all the actors and us. Fredericksburg was they were like, there wasn't as many. I mean, there wasn't 1,000 people there or whatever. But there's 150, 125, 150 people that paid decent money to come see us, and they encouraged us to go intermingle with them, and I really enjoyed it. So it was really cool. Yeah, and I was with Scott Gibson and Josh Baton and Jacob Pitts, and Jacob don't really necessarily like everybody around, but everybody else. And I kept getting Jacob because all the tourists would come by and he'd like be sitting, fixing to go into a restaurant or something, sitting there, and I'd go, "Hey, aren't you from that Euro Trip movie?" And he'd be like, "Oh, no, stop doing that."
It took me sick, but I love it. It took me so long, and then finally I'm like, I remember watching the Pacific and I'm like, Jacob Pitts, why does that name sound so familiar? And it took me a while. And then I put it together and I said, holy shit.
It's him.
Holy shit. That's the kid from Eurotrip. You haven't seen it.
No, I've never seen it. What am I missing?
Jacob Pitts before the Pacific.
He was telling stories about like when him and Josh were going through France, and like young people would just stop going, "Oh my God, the Eurotrip guy! Oh my Eurotrip!"
You can never escape it.
Yeah, and he lives in Prague, so he gets it a lot from tourists.
Does he live in Prague now?
Yeah, half the year. And he has. I think he has a place in New York, but his mom lives in Dallas, so he tries to come into Texas.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, his wife is. They got married in Prague, and that's where they live. So. She's Scandinavian, I believe. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He gets to split. Prague is one of the prettiest cities in Europe, anyway. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's always been on my list of places to go.
When you read history, it was really only bombed once.
Yeah.
And excuse me if I can't remember the name, but the general was assassinated there. And they came in and killed 2,000 local people and stuff, but. When you go and look at Prague is how it was, all the old buildings and stuff. They didn't have to rebuild them, and I mean, I've read a couple things and stuff that was where Hitler was going to put the capital of the world once he had the world domination. So Belgium, Berlin was going to be the art capital of the world, but the actual governmental capital was going to be in Prague. So he didn't bomb it at all. So.
Wow,
that's insane! I didn't know
you go there and all the bridges are like they were back in World War II and stuff.
Wow, I didn't know that. Crazy. And you know what? That's something that I don't think I caught either. I was just at the museum in New Orleans last weekend, and I don't think they mentioned that he had like this protection over Prague, like that at all. I mean, you've been to the museum, so you know how it's set up. There's the Pacific Theater and the European Theater, but. I don't remember catching that at all. And I took a solid 2 days to go through the entire museum.
Well, you need like 5 days to go through that museum.
Oh my God. We really did. I don't know how we got through it in 2 days. But
I was there for 3
Like
days, and I
non-stop
think I've seen a third of it.
It's tremendous.
Yeah,
It's
well
huge,
done.
yeah. I would love to start with how you came to have the job that you have as military advisor.
What?
Did it start with Band of Brothers, or was it like
No,
something before that?
no. My first move, I just got out of the Marines, and I went back home to Wyoming. And I like to tell everybody I got in the film business by being drunk. Um,
A
me
lot
and
of
a bunch.
people get into the film business by being drunk.
No, a lot of
Pure
people are drunk in the
accidental.
film business.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, yeah. They were apparently in the paper. They were looking for former military guys and outdoorsmen to work on with the military on Starship Troopers. And I'd only been out of the Marines about a year, and I'm the maddest son of a bitch ever walked the face of the earth. And yeah, sure. I went through the audition process, and then my last audition, which it was funny. I worked for a propane company, and I had my propane company. I had a shirt on, had a truck parked outside, shirt with my name on it, cowboy hat, Wranglers, and boots. And I walked in. There was like 50 people, female and male, for the final cut. And the first thing I said is, "What the hell am I doing here?" They're all in doing pull-ups and push-ups, and the girls had stuff, and it was a little bit. I was whatever, and I went kind of hid in the back. But then that's when Captain Dye walked in with the casting director, and I was like, I had just seen Outbreak, so I was like, well, through all this crap, at least I got to see a movie star.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, and he hit a note, and he just said, "We're going to go in this room. I'm going to ask you questions. First of all, you're going to report to me." And it was all military. I didn't know anything about Dale Dye at the time, and I didn't know he was a Marine, but he sounded like a Marine, and I was like, "Oh well." I was like, everybody went in there. I was like, a couple hours later, and I was just like, "Oh, they're ever going to call my name? I want to get out of here. I've been working all day." And
Yeah, I've had
it was
enough.
it was in like 1st of April. It was like 20 degrees outside and snow everywhere. I'm like, I want to get out of here and go home. And when you got that many people and they spending 10, 15 minutes a person, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And I was almost the last person to be there. And he called me, and I just went in there and freaking popped attention. And Sergeant Farnsworth reporting his order, and he just looked up and goes, "Are you a Marine?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Where do you serve?" I said, "Suicide Charlie, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines." And he goes, "Oh, I hate the 7th Marines." I go, "You're just jealous because we have 2 guidons." And he like turned about face, and I whipped one of those out as best I could in cowboy boots, and he goes, "Drop down and give me 25." And I was like, okay.
In
So,
cowboy boots?
oh yeah. So I
Oh
did,
God.
1 sir, 2 sir, all the way up. I got to like 8, and he goes, "Get up." And I jumped up. I didn't move. I stayed up with my back towards him, which you're supposed to do in the Marines unless you're told to move.
Yeah.
And he said, "About face." I whipped one out, and then he just said, "Get the fuck out of me. You're wasting my time." And I was like, "What?" I was literally in there for like 60 seconds maybe. And I walked out, and all these pretty boys and muscle girls and boys were just like, and I was like, whatever. And he just basically said, "Everybody can go. This is who I pick." And then he goes, "Freddie Joe, stay." And he asked me who I was. He said, "We need your help with everything." And I just kind of helped him with like the squad leader and stuff through the first boot camp. And halfway through it, I was only going to do the Wyoming and South Dakota stuff. But about halfway through it, he goes, "Hey, I just got a John Milius movie with about the Volunteer Cavalry for Rough Riders go to Cuba." And I'm really not a horse guy. And he knew I grew up in Wyoming and rodeoed and horses pretty much my whole, well, not around horses. and he said, "How would you like to come to Hollywood, finish this, and come right?" So I did. I came back to Hollywood, finished it, and next day I was on my way to Texas to do another movie, and I got my first acting and my first stunt job on that, and I was hooked. This is what I'm doing for a living. So
Yeah.
that's how it
That's
started.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just used the military. The good thing about I wanted to be a stuntman so bad. That was it. Even when I was a kid, I was going to be a stuntman, and being a Marine, I was always a little bit crazy. But You know, it's just I kind of used my horse skills. I'd go and ride horses when I knew a movie was coming, and I met the guy who did it. His name Jack Lilly. He just passed away like 6 months ago. God rest his soul. But he was like the biggest in the film business, and I was good friends with his son, who was a stuntman. Clint Lilly, everybody calls him Berkey, and Berkey would call me, said, Dad's got a Western coming up. So I'd go to his house and I would just ride all the horses for free. And I'd go down with the rearing horses and the fall horses and just for free, just to get the horses legged up ready for the show. And then the stunt coordinators and stuff were able to say, "Oh God, that guy, why don't you come work for me, kid?" And or I'd ride for them. And then I'd use the military. You get so close with the stunt coordinators because you're out there training. You have to train the stunt guys as well. And then, oh, you're a stunt guy? Hey man, why don't you come and do a couple stunts for me? I'm like, heck yeah, let's do it. And that's how I kind of built my resume through the years. And yeah, it's kind of cool because I bounce back and forth. I'll do a military show, and then I'll coordinate a movie, and I'll do another military show. So I get to bounce around. I don't get bored or whatever.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And the film business is crazy, which if you think about it, you'll know just being fans of film, it's a big wave. It's like Westerns will be huge. Like right now, Westerns are huge. Everybody's got a ranch movie and everybody's got, do all the.
Everybody's got a farm or something.
Yeah, or country music, oil field workers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when that gets to where it's oversaturated, which is getting very close, then all of a sudden the war films start coming back. So I kind of got lucky. All the peaks throughout my career have been the two things I'm best at. So it's kind of, and then when I started doubling Max Martini, then I got to be a little more versatile, the car stuff and the kill yourself stuff.
Do you have a favorite between like the Westerns or the war films? What do you prefer doing?
Well, that's a really good question. If you get on a good Western film set and you have good people, there's nothing, because a lot of the crew are people like you that have been around the horses a lot, so they're petrified, so they're like really paying attention to you. They're like, oh my God, I don't want this horse, and the unfortunate thing about that is at first they're all just like standing off with their carts and stuff, and they're going all the way around the long way because they don't want to scare the horses or scared of the horses. And then about a month into it, because we all got such good control of them, they and then just lock it up, and then the horses kicking their cars out. It's like, hey, you got to tell me you're coming. There's horses have the same mentality as a 3-year-old child. So, and they're they get preyed on in the wild. That's why their eyes are a little bit in the back of their head, a little bit more. So, and they have blind spots. So if you get in that blind spot, no matter how trained they are, they're going to let you know it really quick.
Right.
But that's the hardest thing about doing Western. But, then you do something like Band of Brothers, and it's just like, and the Pacific is just one of the best times of your life. You get, because when I do the military stuff, I get really close with all the background and all the actors. In fact, still to this day, the background guys from Australia will come over. Hey, I'm in LA. Gunny, come see me. Or actors. Actor will have a problem, then we all kind of just call and start talking to each other. Or someone's family member will die. We'll send representatives to the funerals, or somebody's getting married. My last marriage before my last divorce, but my last marriage was like Michael Cutlass said, okay, I'm going, who's going? A couple Band of Brothers guys came, a couple Pacific guys came, and then all the Western guys. So it was a bunch of cowboys and a bunch of actors, and it was we all went to Vegas and just had a good time. But
that's really sweet.
Yeah. But I really, a good Western with good people, good horse wrangler, good horses. Yeah, man, it's fun. It's really fun. And usually when you do that, you're off somewhere away from a city, So
there's not as much, like hustle and bustle and doing I mean, of course a film set brings all that anyway, but it's not as open, I would say.
When I did Alexander, there'd be days we'd have 1,000 background performers and 250 horses and 50 stunt guys and that's 10 crazy. Actors, and this is like everything's going different. 2 different film crews. Everywhere. Yeah, first and second units going. It's a lot. It's almost too much sometimes. Like World War Z. It was when I did World War Z, it was just, I was in Malta. Then the next day I'd be in Budapest. Then the next day I'd be in Scotland. Then the next day I'd be back in Malta. Then I'll be back in London. It was just constant. And it's such a big production that you have 50,000 for executive producers and producers. So it's like this one's saying I want this, and that one's saying no, we're not going to do it. So you're just running around going, oh,
here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah,
Your internal clock must have been
you are a well-traveled guy.
Oh yeah, I've been around. I got three ex-wives. Of course, I've been around.
That's not what I meant.
And at the start, he said, "I don't talk about women." At the start, he said, "I don't talk about women."
Well, I don't talk about personal things.
No, I don't. I'm just messing. How was the experience on Band of Brothers and the Pacific? Do you have a specific favorite memory, or were they?
We've heard stories.
Just excellent?
We've heard stories.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite memory, and Matteo doesn't talk about it, was me and Billy Budd, who's a British Royal Marine, great big guy. And so Billy Budd and Freddie Joe, and we had there's a couple. The show was so long, we had some new production assistants, young kids running around trying to stuff, and they had to learn real quickly that the actors would just look at them and go, yeah, whatever. Freddie Joe or Billy Budd will tell us where to go. We don't even listen to you. And we had a new one. They're just trying so eager. They don't want to make a mistake. And Matteo was in a fighting position. And me and the production assistant was up there because the actors had taken a break and went into a foxhole, as they call them in the Army. And he was sitting there, and he's a shit talker, all 5'1" of him is a shit talker. And he was talking shit to me and Billy Budd. And Billy Budd, he was a big 240-pound man, and I was, I was ripped, I was shredded back then. I was just like, we're standing up there talking shit back. And then finally, Billy said, "You're lucky I don't jump in there and slap the shit out of you or something." And Jimmy said, "No, you're lucky you don't try it." And me and Billy Budd at the same time dove in there, and we beat the living day. I mean, we're just slapping him real hard, like really giving him the business. And
he's only little.
Yeah, but I tell you what, he handled it. That's one thing I love about him. He was like, "Let's go," he's wrestling with us, and we were just giving him rib shots, trying to stay away from his face. And that PA literally, to use a cuss word, shit himself, like completely freaked out, was on the radio. All of a sudden, ADs, everybody come flying over. These two guys are beating up an actor and freaking out. And all the ADs came over and that had been there. They're like, "Oh, guys, just Freddie Joe and Billy giving them business to an actor talking shit probably." But he took it. So that to me was one of my favorite parts. And another one was after training, HBO threw a big party for all the special ability extras and the actors, and both the German and the U.S. because they both went through boot camps. And I just knew all the actors by their characters, and Liebgott was sitting there talking, and he was talking with the Cockney accent, and I was like, and I was in London, had a cowboy hat on and stuff, and I'm sitting there staring at him, and we all had a couple toddies, and I'm like, "You sound like shit. Once you stop, making the British people, you're making fun of the British with that crappy accent." And he's like looking at me like, "What?" God, sorry, I keep going to their names, but Winters comes over and he's talking with the Cockney accent. I'm like, "What the fuck's going on here?" I'm about to slap the shit out of all you guys right now.
Wait a minute, you're all pretending. Nope.
But that's how good their accents were. I was giving them shit for making fun of the English accent.
Oh my God. It's like when Christian Bale did American Psycho and he came to the press tour and he started talking in his regular accent because he's from Wales originally. Yeah. And the whole cast and crew that were there at this press junket were like, "Why are you talking like that?" And he said, "No, this is my accent. I put on an American accent for the movie. I'm actually British." And they all thought he was bullshitting. They all thought he was just taking the piss out of everyone. No, he's just British and has a really good,
just British
accent.
Yeah, and then we had the Pacific. I had every time I got to mess with Scott Gibson, I loved because
we've heard about this. We heard about this. And we heard about the bitch tent. Yeah.
I should have made T-shirts. That's gone around the world.
Please, we would wear it.
I probably should have. And then, but he was just so Canadian, and and just by the original training, we weren't really allowed hands on with. We were there, and he seen us getting busy with all the other guys, giving them shit.
Yeah.
And so he was just, even the first day, his first day on camera, he was still just kind of, it's a big thing for him. And we've been filming a while, a long time. And then all of a sudden he's here and he's just got the camera and everything's on him. And I come walking up to him and I'm just staring at him. And I got my hands behind my back and I'm like, and he's like, Gunny? I'm like, I go, what is that on your chest? And he goes, my 45. And I just reached up, I grabbed it and pulled it out. And he's like, I have to have it for the scene. I said, no, you don't. And I pulled out of my back pocket a real 45 and I stuck it in there. And I just go, I'll make you famous, bitch. And walked away from it. And then when he watched it, he watched the playbacks. He was like, oh my God, I can totally tell it's a real pistol. I'm like, they're so close on you. In fact, I think I still have that pistol. I'm telling you, the 45, the rubber one.
Yeah.
Because I was like, nope, never again. You're gonna wear the real one.
Because it adds like an extra weight to it.
And it's just, you can tell the metal's worn and it's got a shine to it. The rubber's rubber. It's black.
That's really cool.
But you can see his heart beating through his chest when I was just sitting there staring at him like a foot away from his face. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't. What am I doing?
He told us about the really emotional moment where
God,
you shook his hand. And he was kind of teary. He was crying a little bit, and you addressed him by the rank of what he was playing and portraying.
Yeah, captain.
And then afterwards, he said that you grabbed him again and went, "So you crying, little bitch?"
Yeah. I seen you tear up, bitch.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't shake his hand. I saluted him.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's when he was like, woohoo. Because before that, I have some non-politically correct stuff. I do it, but he was Lieutenant Dick Licker before that, and then he became Captain.
We heard that too.
We heard about that as well, and we're keeping that in his episode because we didn't edit that out the whole entire time.
He was like, "I'm so sorry. Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to?" Well, it's fine. Don't worry.
Completely fine.
We're online.
Somehow anything we've done with the guys from the Pacific has ended up marked as explicit. Gee, I wonder why.
When we had an episode with Josh Breton, every comma was fuck. He didn't breathe. He would just say fuck, fucking fuck.
Yeah. Well, he was one of the main guys that trained him was Robert Garcia. He was one of my friends I brought on, and Purple Heart recipient in Iraq, and his English is not great. Even I've known him like almost 20 years now, and I can't. Sometimes I'm like, what the hell are you saying, dude? You got to slow down your talk. And then if he doesn't really understand what he's saying, because his family comes from Mexico. I think he got his green card right after his Purple Heart. But he or a citizenship, not his green card. He got his full citizenship, and when he gets, especially Marines, because that one, I still remember the first day, and I had Bunch, who was an Anglo Marine, who was a friend of mine I brought over. I had me, of course. We had Garcia, and then my best friend Bruce Whitfield, who I had spent like 8 of the 10 years I was in the Marines. We were in the same duty stations, seen the birth of his kids and everything. We were really close. And he came over. He was actually in the Marines at the time, so we got him some special leave to come over and help us out with all the training, because he's a mortarman his whole life. So all those good mortar scenes, he's the one who trained those guys. But like when Garcia would talk, he'd always lean back and pinch his head, and he'd be like, "Come here, you fuck, get the fuck over here, fucking the fuck." And I used to tell him, man, you gotta say something other than the F-bombs, and need to slow down so they can understand you. Because like in the Marines, when you're training someone, especially like me, and Bruce, we were both at Marine combat training, and the point is to teach combat skills. And the hardest part of combat is stress. That's the hardest thing in combat. So what we do is, as troop handlers, we would put the private under as much stress as we possibly can, using our voice, that real loud, screaming, yelling, and running them up the hills, and just constantly running them push-ups and everything. And then we go, okay, here we're going to teach you the Mark 19, how to take it apart, how to put it together, all the nomenclature, and under stress, they're doing that. And so while they're being taught, it's quiet. So it's just the instructor up there teaching, but as soon as they're done, it's like, you guys are fucking off in class. Get up, my motherfucker now, go. You know, it's like, and then when they get done, then they get tested, so they're under stress constantly. So I call it the subconscious theory. I tell everybody because you know, when you're being when there's explosions and gunfire and everything for real, I mean, you can even almost forget your name. Because your brain switches to what I call it subconscious theory. It switches back to everything that you naturally do. You know, so that's why we train them under that natural stress as best we can. We got, you know, we can't shoot real bullets at privates or recruits or anything. But so when you're stressing them, there's no answer. You don't want them to get the right answer, so you talk really fast, a lot of cuss words, and you're screaming at them, and you're basically saying jump in the air and jump in the air and be on the ground at the same time, and so there's no right answer, and they're just like all right, go, you know, and that's why Marines don't say this. When Captain Dice said do 25 push-ups, I was confused because I never say drop and give me 20. You know, that's an Army thing. So it's Marines. It's just you drop until I get sick of looking at you. You know, that's, you know, and the reason that I always did that was because, you know, I could have somebody like Matteo could do 100 push-ups and sit there laughing and smiling. And then I could have somebody like Richard Spate doing 10 going, oh, I'm going to die. You know, so at least I want to take Matteo until he's that guy going, oh, I'm going to die.
And it would take him at least 300.
Yeah, and that's what we, you know, and that's a Band of Brothers in Pacific. The reason why we did what we did was, you know, it's like in the military, like in just say Marine boot camp. It's, you know, the first phase is just death. You know, and towards the end of the phase, they have what's called hell weeks and stuff, where it's just there's definitely nothing you can do right. And then what that has done is with the actors, the first, you know, we don't have 3 months to train them, so we have, you know, sometimes 10 days or 2 weeks, and so the first 3 days is just no sleep, nothing. So that brain that they used to have shuts off, and now they're just, okay, now I'm going to teach you this and teach you that, and you know, and they're constantly on them, how they're carrying their weapons, how they use their weapons, because when, you know, I've done where I didn't get a chance to train actors, and one of the hardest part is how, you know, they always got to have something to do with their hands. That's why you watch shows, and the police, right before they go in the building, they cock their weapon. You're like, wait a second, that would already be cocked. You wouldn't wait till you get
it would already be
you know? And because they have to have something to do with their weapons. But what we teach them is, you know, just hold your weapon. If you watch every different actor in both shows, they hold their weapons differently when they're arresting. Like they'll cradle it, they'll put their hands on, you know, one will just hold it straight down. And that was taken away. I don't have anything to do with my hands anymore because I got my weapon. My weapon is my hand. It's a part of my arm. So and that's all the same thing. We give them subconscious theory. So when they get to set, they're not thinking, what should I do with my hands? Or, you know, what should I do with
you're holding something?
Right. Yeah, you're responsible for this.
You've been doing it. Yeah, you've been doing it already. Now and if you talk to Josh Baton and them, they're like, oh, I'll go on set, and I automatically go right back to that training you guys, and I'm not even thinking about it. It just does.
But second nature after all that time.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite between Band of Brothers?
Oh yeah.
And the Pacific?
A favorite of the shows?
Yeah.
Which ones? I'm fortunate. I was able, because I did them. You know, I already knew the difference between the two. And, you know, I put Band of Brothers as like a action romance film. You know, it's you meet the characters in the first act, and you follow the characters all the way to the 10th act. The same characters. We're not necessarily focused on them. You know, it's about a company. I knew the Pacific was about, well, figuratively 4 different divisions, and people were in each division, and each episode covered, you know, what that division, they were in that division basically, or in that, you know, 2-5 or battalion, whatever, you know, the 5th Marines or the 7th Marines, you know, you talk about Barcelona and stuff, and I knew it was going to be a lady's favorite, because, you know, it got to a point where I knew the characters, I knew what the things were about, but to the normal person, it became just a guy in a green outfit.
Yeah,
you know? And then,
I can see that.
You know, it wasn't a personal thing where you seen them as a kid in the first episode, and then the sixth episode, kind of what they were going through now is taking place, and you feel that pain and suffering, because you know more about his character, a little more personal, and I tell everybody to go back and watch the Pacific again, go because the second time you've taken Band of Brothers out of your head. The problem is a lot of people when they seen the Pacific, they were thinking, "Oh, Band of Brothers, here we go," and it was not like the Band of Brothers. It just started at war, and it wasn't like
it was very jarring. Like the first
and it took me like 2 or 3 watches to really. First of all, understand, like, put the faces and the names because you're not following them straight through.
Yeah.
But also to really absorb it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Really absorb it all. I think that's what a lot of people have a problem with Masters of the Air as well, is that they've compared it to Band of Brothers and they've compared it to the Pacific. And it's not. It's a completely different. And I think that's the thing, is they have to understand each one is a completely different war in and of itself. They're all being fought simultaneously, and you have to kind of piece it together.
And that's kind of why I liked how we did the Pacific, because that's what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was dark and bloody and just, they did Normandy, which was dark and bloody, and Saving Private Ryan, but they did Normandy. The Marines in the Pacific did that 12 times. They did those beach landings and wide open on the beach heads, and happened to get a strong point on another island, on another place, and the difference was, once they left Australia, they wasn't like they had places to go train what the next mission was. They would go.
Chucked in.
When I can tell you, like Desert Storm, it was, God, you guys are so easy. I'm like, it wasn't easy. It's just we trained for 7 months to do exactly what we did those first 4 days. Well, those first 4 days were supposed to take us a month, but they let the Marines beat the Spear Point, so it only took 4 days. But 4 major days, and that's because every day we were training some sort of what we did, but when you're doing the island hopping, you're on ship floating to the next place. 15 days later, the bombshells are going, and you're still on the ship. It's not like you go. It's just like, and World War II was a man's war for sure. Not to be bigoted or anything, but it was those dudes. Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'll probably get a lot of backlash. Probably, but people say, "Oh, today's day they couldn't do that," and that's bullshit too. It's when you're in those situations, Band of Brothers guys, and in the shows we try to show it a lot, is Marines are trained, Army guys are trained. We don't, you have all your chain of command and you have everything, and we get a little easier stuff nowadays, like PXs and good restaurants and all that stuff. But you take that next step for the guy to the left and right, not for you. Not for mom and pop, not for apple pie, not for your wife or your girlfriend or anything. It's like, let's put it like like Desert Storm. I was there for about 3 weeks, and I was due for transfer, and because of my reenlistment, and I had put in to go to MECDEC Quantico, Virginia, officer and gentlemen and trained officers, and I got my orders. You're gonna leave in 2 weeks, go back to the States, and I was like, hell no, I'm not. I am not. My squad. I am the squad leader. What kind of man would I be if I just left my guys here? But that's the mentality. Not that I was great, but that's the mentality almost all Marines have. There are some that'd be like, "I'll take them. I'm out of here." But back then, that mentality was just constant, and it was never second guessed at all. The politics during World War II was win at all costs. Nowadays it's win the first 2 days and then let's politicize it a lot more.
Everybody,
everybody, including the enemy, has cell phones and is recording everything. So unfortunately, the ugliness of war nowadays is no big secret. So it makes it a lot difficult. But those guys back then, it's like I want to do a film which is very difficult to do on Korea. Everybody's like, "Oh, the World War II guys." I'm like, the guys in Korea, they were fighting with the same outfit in 20 below weather, with the same stuff they wore in World War II, the same equipment pretty much. It was just they're out there freezing to death, but they just kept going, doing what they were supposed to do. And it's pretty amazing. Those just when you think about it, nowadays you go to mountain warfare training or the winter's part of it, and, you got big jackets and big boots and big everything, and
and that's just not how it was. Yeah.
No, they just had what they had, and it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. But yeah, both shows to me, like I said, they're great shows. It's one of my favorite World War II films though is The Great Raid that we did. The raid on.
I haven't seen it. I need to watch it.
That's it's based off the true story. The largest raid still to this day, 517 POWs rescued. But it got caught up in the middle of the Miramax Lionsgate and the Disney fight over Miramax. It was all kind of came back, I believe, from Fahrenheit 9/11, 9/11. Miramax was, and then Disney said, "Nope, we're not going to release that." Disney wasn't political back then, so we're a family show. We don't want to show our government in a bad way.
Right.
And so what Miramax did, the Weinsteins, is they started a new company called Lionsgate. And so they released it under Lionsgate, and Disney was like, "You're still known as us. You're attached, Miramax attached to Disney. What are you doing?" And they're like, "We don't care." And they released that. So the Weinsteins had all their money involved. I think it was like $80 million into the Great Raid. And so they said, "Okay, well, we have the release rights." So they did like a weekend at 300 movie theaters and then shelved it. Right. But it's it's really just Benjamin Bratt and James Franco and Freddie Joe Farnsworth, Max Martini's in it. That's why I became. That's how I became.
Who's that guy?
I became Max's stunt double. Was the director kept coming and separating us, and he was one of my best friends before that. But he just kept separating us. I'm like, what the heck's he doing? And he's like, "Come over here." And we went looked at the monitor. Well, on camera, we looked like we were twins. So I was playing the lieutenant. He was playing a sergeant major or first sergeant, I think it was. Wow. And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "See, if you made me your stunt double."
So could be together forever.
Yeah, like a year after the Great Raid, he got a show called The Unit, and I did his stunt on it. And that day, they bought the whole season. And after that, for like 19 years, I did everything for him.
Wow. God,
but the Great Raid is really good too. Captain Tech advised it, and I got casted, but he's like, "Hey, you're here, so you're going to be help me with the military." So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, you're going to be
like,
pulling double duty. Yeah.
Why does he get to yell us? He's playing Lieutenant Foley. What does he do? What's going on?
Exactly. Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. But both those shows are different. But like I said, if you look as one as a full on war drama, that's the Pacific. But if you're looking for, it's more, Band of Brothers is a little more romantic, a little more you get this, you just get to know the characters better. So
you do. And people are very protective over both of them, which is all this time later now to see it too is still.
Oh yeah. That's
very very protective over both of them. Which one is their favorite? Who is their favorite?
Right. Yeah, and their characters too. I've had I've had spouts with a couple on both sides. And I'll be doing a Facebook Live or a podcast, and they'll always ask me, "Hey, if you're gonna fight, who would you fight?" And I know what they're doing, and I'm not gonna do it anymore because I've been talked to about doing one of his movies, but I'll just be like, Tom Cruise, because I know what they're trying to get me to say something bad. And then when we're done, I'm always like, I can't, because there's a lot of people out there that's their favorite character, and then I become the asshole, and I don't want to be the asshole.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I'd really like to. I'd like to beat them all up, actually, but.
After watching the Pacific, it's kind of become my favorite a little more. I still love Band so much, but after watching, because I watched the Pacific directly after I watched Band of Brothers for the first time, so I was like everyone else expecting the very same thing, and like the very same sort of rhythm and the same sort of romance as well, and you're chucked straight in. And I found it was a lot more gory, but not that I enjoy that aspect, but I kind of respected it a little more for being a little more true to what was happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Band of Brothers was pretty true. I mean, it's you can never do it as true. It'd be the longest, most boringest show ever. But that's why in the Pacific way, Scott's character, Haldane and John Sayda's Basilon, why they're such beloved characters, even though they may not have been in the show as much as a lot of other characters. But you got to know them. They told the story about Basilon melting himself and knocking down walls of Japanese just so he could shoot more Japanese, and Haldane, how his men loved him so much. You got those, that was that had the little Band of Brothers feel to it, because then when they died, it was so dramatic. It was like, what? What? He was my favorite. But that's why those two characters are, I feel are in the Pacific are two of the fan favorite characters in it.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say I'm a band. I love them both, but I'm a band girl, but more for a sentimental reason that was the one that my dad and I first watched together.
Oh.
And that was kind of what, like, I would always kind of hover by the TV. He'd have on like Patton or The Longest Day, and my mother would be like, "Turn it off. You're watching Patton again." But I'd kind of hover and be like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then Band came out, and it was right after 9/11, and he had been down at Ground Zero for like a week pulling people out, because he's law enforcement. So he was down there pulling people out, and then we like sat down to watch it together, and it's just, to me, that's the one that I was like, "Yep, took off and ran with it." And then he gave me his copy of the book, and I was like, well, I protected at all costs. But I remember watching the Pacific After, and I was like, Dad, I don't really know what to make of it at first. And he's like, well, you have to remember, and this is what he drills into me. He's like, you have to remember that in Europe, they had like bombed out homes. At least they could have like some form of shelter. They'd have a roof over their head. He's like, in the jungle, you had nothing but trees and leaves, and you were completely fucking exposed.
Yep.
Rained out,
completely exposed. So when I watched it a second time, I remember being like, wow, okay, I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I did.
It was an uglier war.
Much uglier.
It was an uglier war.
The worst of the lot, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. Because then if you compare it to the Air Force, they had beds. Like, out of all of them, they probably had it. They had beds, they had a roof, they had a club, right? Like, so you really put it into perspective. The Marines in the Pacific had it the worst out of all three.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it showed it too, like when they got on the ship after Guadalcanal, in that same ship, batons in there, and you just seen them looking at the cafeteria, and they're just like, what?
Why you? Yeah.
These, and the sailors just staring like, whoa.
Like, wait a minute.
You guys were the ones in there. Oh my God, and you kind of seen the difference there, and then you watch Band of Brothers, and they're all hanging out in a pub.
Right.
Yeah, like little bits in between.
Got women in the town sitting on their laps, and and then you watch the Pacific, and the Japanese are jumping off the cliffs. It's different, but they're both Captain Dye said something in Fredericksburg that really hit a mark to me. He said, on my epitaph, on my stone, I wanted to say, I really showed the people what it was like. And I was like, damn, that's it, So I get enjoyment out of that. When I did say a movie, when I did World War Z, and I came a little late, and the person they had before was never in the military, and then they found out I was in the country. I had just finished Captain America, and they were like, "Oh, you did Brad Pitt already come over?" And I got the show, and it was just, like I said, with all the producers and the crew was huge. I mean, I'm fighting with transportation guys over what kind of helicopters in the movie. I'm like, well, you know what I mean? It was it was a constant fight. And then I'd say, they're like, yeah, but the zombies are the big part of the film, and it's everything else is kind of secondary. And I go, well, look, let's put it this way. If I want the audience to be petrified.
Right.
I mean, that film petrified the shit out of you. I wouldn't let my 11-year-old watch it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I said, if you want that to look real, this mythological thing, you have to make the world around it look real. So when the National Guard moves in at the start of the movie into Philadelphia, they gotta look like National Guardsmen going to fight these things. And then all of a sudden, 20 seconds later, there's zombies coming back at us. But if you don't want to make the audience to be petrified, you want to make a 1970s Japanese Godzilla, just have the like the IDF. I got to train these IDF. I got to train these two ladies. Well, they were in the IDF. One was a singer and one was a dancer. I'm like, they need to be trained. So I went and did a 5-day boot camp with them, and then they were like, oh wow, okay, we see now, because they look like they're troop soldiers. IDF soldiers going through and fighting these zombies the best they can. And they and that was it. If you want them to be scared, make the IDF look real, make the National Guard look real. And these things are so horrific. They're tearing through these people, us know as warriors. They're tearing through them like they're nothing. So what's the guy on the street corner gonna do? You know what I mean? So and so finally they pretty much, especially after Malta, after we did the IDF stuff, they were just like, okay, whatever you need. Because we filmed that first. Fortunately, they're like, whatever you need. I had a guy playing this SEAL. I trained him for like 2 weeks straight. Unfortunately, most of his part got kicked out because he decided to go a different direction in the whole film later. But I mean, he was badass. Matthew Fox, he was badass by the time I got done. Every day for 2 weeks, I was training on him. I went up and trained with trained the National Guard troops up in Scotland for the Philadelphia stuff. And then, I sent Billy Budd out to Hungary for like 2 weeks. And then I got out there and I filmed to film all the old people, which we ended up cutting that whole scene out of the movie and completely redoing the ending of the film. But those dudes, we had like 70-year-old guys fighting and doing formation movements and changing and stuff. So it made the zombies look like, oh shit. Just made them better. So that's just the way it is with me, and I've had shows where I've been broke as hell and gone, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. You won't let me change these things. I'm not doing it. I'll go off and do a stunt show or something. I'm not I'm not worried about it. It's got to, you've probably heard some of them, they got to respect the uniform. And I really breathe that in with you. As soon as you, as we call in the military, don and clear that uniform, you better represent to the best and fullest. The normal human being doesn't know. So we try to surround them with, I just did a film just came out called Primitive War, and it was Vietnam, and Captain helped the guy write it. So I went out and trained the actors and basically set up almost every shot. But and they're fighting dinosaurs. So
oh wow!
And it's really good. They only spent like $3 million on it, but it's like opened up all worldwide now. It's doing really good. In fact, he's called me a few times. They wanted to do the second one. It's based off. There's a 7 books called Primitive War. So
nice.
But sometimes you get actors that think they're bigger than what the part is. And it's like when you're doing a show about World War II or any war, no actor's bigger than the part they're playing. So he just happened to. That's normal. Having people like Schwimmer and even Donnie Wahlberg, because he was, from the what was he, Backdoor Boys or New Kids on the Block, whatever it was. Yeah, New Kids on the Block, right?
Yeah.
So, that was probably your favorite. Sorry.
How did you know?
How did you know?
How did you know I love going to New Kids concerts? Actually, I do, but
so he was pretty well known, and then David was really well known.
Oh yeah, Schwimmer was definitely well known.
And Damian Lewis was known in England, in Europe.
Yes, he was very well known. Yeah.
Besides that, I call it a group of Law and Order actors. They almost all of them have been an episode of Law and Order. Almost everyone. And I said, but that was it.
Yeah. Right.
And you go to the Pacific. Seda was about the only one that we started that was the real, that was right when Badges just starting to take off. But Seda, because he was Selena's boyfriend or husband, and had done some show stuff. But
wait, that's John Seda?
Yes.
Oh my God, that just
yeah.
Wait a second. Wow.
So the big name was Dino Boy. No, the big name of the show was him.
The big name was
Spielberg movies and
Dino Boy.
And I think that kind of might have went to his head a little bit, you know.
That he was the biggest name, really.
Yeah, they need me. I don't need them.
Oh,
yeah.
But, no, well.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But
To each their own. You're all gonna go watch Selena now.
Yeah, because it just clicked.
I can't watch that movie without getting so inherently angry at the end. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Got to surround yourself by people you trust. You know, so I have like 3 guys that are true friends. And those are the guys I could call at 3 a.m, and they don't say why. They're just like, give me an address.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there with a shovel if I
and
need to.
A couple of them would be Marines, and the other one's Army guys.
Yeah.
See, and I don't
no rivalries.
Yeah, well, I don't hold it against him too much. In the Army.
Doesn't make
too much. It doesn't mean he doesn't at all.
Yeah, not just too much.
Too much.
Just a little bit.
Oh, we
that's
gotta
like that's like NYPD and FDNY. You know, at the end of the day, there's friendly rivalry there.
Oh yeah, got to get it. I do a charity every year. Oh no, I don't have the plaque here. It's called Our Heroes' Dreams, and I just had it yesterday. And then my friend Chad Bennett, he goes almost every year. And this year we got to ride together in a golf cart, and the whole time I'd pull out my Marine Challenge coin to mark the ball, and then the next one he'd pull out his 82nd Airborne Challenge coin, and the 2 guys with us are just like, you guys are like a married couple. Because the whole time I'm like, well, if you were in the Marines, you wouldn't have done that, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's
That's
there.
cute though.
Oh, cute.
I love that.
Cute.
It's cute. Married. That's very cute.
I can listen to you talk about every story, not just like Band of Brothers or the Pacific stories, like just any story.
Yeah, that's the way.
You're awesome.
Ask away.
I do have one final question.
Sure.
What's been the favorite movie or TV show you have ever worked on? It does not have to be band or
I just got asked this weekend. It's so hard to answer. So hard to answer. I really
give a different answer now than you gave the other day.
I don't know if I can. I tell everybody, because I came back from Alexander, and I was doubling Colin Farrell on Alexander. So I had the long blonde hair, so it was way long and professionally done. And it's nice, and everybody was just like, "What?" And literally, I was back from Dublin, the lead actor of the biggest movie at that time made, and it was 3 days later. Jack Lilly Todd Forsberg called me, said, "Hey man, I really need some horse riders. It's just like special ability background, but it pays good. But he goes, but I need horse riders, because we got a ton of people in this town in Deadwood, and I need, and it's just a studio called Melody Ranch here in L.A. in Saugus, and come over." And I went over there, and there's some cowboys I knew, some rodeo guys, that I knew. Alan Jordan, who was a great bull rider, and all this stuff. And we'd work like 13 hours, but 12 and a half of it, we'd just be playing poker every day. We'd go, okay, I need 2 riders. You go out and you ride for one scene, then you go, okay, we're done. We'll call you when we need you. And we go back to this little shack, and we just play poker all day.
That's amazing. Easiest payday ever.
Yeah,
sounds like it.
And it got to the point where I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to go do another job. It's crazy.
This is cushy.
Yeah, I was making like $1,000 a day playing poker. I'm like,
oh, amazing.
I'll let the cat out of the bag. Me and Alan Jordan had a little cheat code, so I'd let him win tonight, and then tomorrow night he'd let me win. So
we have a really good friend who her favorite movie is Alexander.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So if you have anything you could send us that we could send her your time in Alexander.
Oh, I got a wonderful picture. I'll text you as soon as we're done.
Please.
And I'd like to say I'm charismatic, but I'm not. Colin had jumped on the Frisian, and I had done some stuff before, so he came on to do the real close-up stuff. Yeah. And I was sitting there talking to him, and Colin's a lot like a Marine. He likes to touch you while you're, it's like, I love you, man, hug, and he likes to touch you. So he put his hand on my shoulder, and I think I put my hand on I might have been on his knee, and I'm sitting there talking, and the set photographer goes, Freddie Joe, Colin, and we both turned around like that, and he took the best picture I've ever taken. So it's to
That's
2 Alex,
beautiful.
and we're both in the same wardrobe, and
awesome.
it's people look at it first going, I don't know which one
Who's
is
who?
which. You know, but, yeah, and then I got some pictures.
Nice.
I got some writing pictures that like 2 or 3 pictures of me riding the Frisian. You got to zoom in to say, oh shit, that is Freddie Joe.
That is Freddie Joe.
Yeah,
I think
I had to invent, because I originally went out. I trained Colin for like a month here, but I originally went out. I got a call from Dell, said, "Hey, Oliver Stone wants you to fly out to Morocco and work a deal out with the military cavalry, because they have horses in their cavalry. Because I guess the guy wanted like $150 for a horse and rider a day that they were going to use, and they had 280 horses or something, 80 people. And so I flew all out to Morocco, went met the military, worked out a deal. It's like $25 a day, a horse and rider. So saved a shit pot of money for production. And my job was going to be all the history books. Alexander, his famous war formation was a diamond formation. Yeah. But nobody knew what it was or how to do it. There's just diamond formation. So I invented a way of changing from column of 1 to column of 2s to column of 4s into a diamond to move. And I was out there for about a month training the Moroccans using hand and arm signals with flags and colors for different units. Yeah. And then we just implant actors or stunt doubles into the spot that they needed to be in that diamond formation. But then Colin, I guess, got into a little bit with the stunt double and said, I watched this guy do everything on a horse for the last month. So they go get your hair dyed and that's kind of how it happened.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I was the only American stunt guy, so it was pretty rough.
Oh God, yeah,
they were trying to kill me. Trust me.
Yeah,
the stunt guys were like,
that seems to be the way it goes.
Yeah, the English stunt guys don't like American stunt guys either. Nowadays,
that's rude.
Well, the British stunt guys do what's called a registry, and you train and you have to pass 5 different disciplines. But they train for years, and then they get tested by the like the old stunt guys, I guess. Imagine, guys like the Armstrongs make out what the tests are and stuff. And the U.S., anybody can say they're a stunt guy. I'm not gonna hire them unless I know who they are. But you don't know how many people I've met that say, "Oh, I'm a stunt guy." Then I look them up and I'm like, "What? No, you've never done a stunt. You've never done a stunt." And then they're almost like they're protected because it's a union. There's 360 guys that can do stunts. So if you have 20 movies, all of them are working all the time and they're very protective of it. And that's why they are. But I mean, I've worked with them enough. Like when I did Captain America, got on the stunt team, I had tech advised Spy Games, and he was the stunt coordinator. And I was the only American besides Brad Pitt and Robert Redford on the whole show. And then the stunt guys were like, "Oh, you're a stunt guy." Steve Dent was the stunt coordinator, and he's just like, I'm running around with them all the time. And he found, he knew I was a horse guy because when I did Band of Brothers on episode 3, I right after boot camp, I had flown back to do a movie called Semper Fi. It was a pilot for Steven Spielberg. He was producing it. And it was the mean drill instructor. So I flew back, did play that for 6 weeks, and then I went back. And the first day I got back from the airport, Mr. Spielberg was there, and he called me in his office and said, "Hey, will you play this part for me?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to tell you no."
I have to.
He goes, "It's not very big, but it was the guy."
Do you get to tell Steven Spielberg no? I don't think you do.
Well, I've said no, but not for a part. I
see.
And it was the trooper on a horse in episode 3. So then of course they wanted a stunt guy to play it in England, and so I had to go to Steve Dent's ranch, which was awesome because I knew who he was. He was the Jack Lilly of England, and he had a cool old English ranch. It was amazing. And I got on the horse and rode I was out with his daughter, and I got on the horse, and she goes, "I want you to do this, change the gears, right?" And I got about halfway down the arena. She goes, "Hey, Mike, get over here. And she came up, she goes, "Go ahead, get off. Go ahead and get off. You know what you're doing. Just spending more time." And so I got the part. So that's how Steve knew who I was. So when I was doing Spy Games, he was really nice. I'd hang out with the stunt guys all the time, and then when I did Captain America, I went over to help train the actors and stuff. And I was just going to be there for 6 weeks. And Steve's like, "Nope, you're on my stunt team." I need that
Staying
accent.
for the long haul.
Well, I just need the accent. If they need a stunt guy to talk, I got a guy that speaks American right here. So and then I met a lot of stunt guys on that, and then just meet them throughout the years, and then I had a whole Eastwood. What's his first name?
Scott.
Anyway,
Scott.
No, not Scott. I've met Scott when he was training for bull riding. I'd go up there, the Floyd Brown, to his ranch and train Scott. So I met him but I didn't. But no, he's a stunt guy. And Simon Crane, and I met them on World War Z. So then, I get back, I get a commercial. I'm driving NASCARs around, like real NASCARs, doing all the racing, doing stunt stuff. And it's like, oh, Simon Crane told us about you. And I was like, oh, shit. So just kind of all the English guys that I knew that hated me at first are now all like, oh, yeah, Freddie Joe, he's there. He'll be good at it. Yeah, but I'm not an asshole. They think Americans are all assholes.
Exactly.
I'm the guy that goes.
And I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm the guy that goes to Mexico to rodeo and jump in a car with like 12 Mexicans and show back up 4 days later. I'm like, let's go. I don't care.
Why not?
A lot of tequila on my breath.
As you should. I agree.
Yeah. I made that short story long. When I do this, you'd be surprised how many actors or guys that work with me go, how can we mention Bruce's name and then I didn't bring up my name?
It's like there's too many of you.
I can't remember.
To talk about.
I can't remember everybody.
I don't recall anyone's name.
Exactly. Yeah, one of the things I tell all the young guys when they're working, I say, you only get 1,000 things right. You only get one fuck up in this business, just like going to war. So take every job, whether it's a low budget film that you're doing as a favor to something, like I did this dinosaur film for half of what I normally get paid, but it was for a young director that I've known since he was 15, and he was straight up, whatever you need, you'll set the shots up, and all the podcasts he did, he'd say, they're like, oh, the military is so amazing. How did you, I know you're a military enthusiast, but how? He'd go, I just tell Freddie Joe what I want and just sit back, and then he'd say, okay, they're ready. And I'd say, roll the cameras. I don't need to double checking. And he goes, it was awesome because they're amazing.
Yeah.
But you only get one chance to do a shitty friggin' movie, then nobody wants to talk to you anymore. So I always say, if you're gonna do it, do the $200 million movie. Put as much effort as you do on that one as you do on the $1 million movie, and you'll never go wrong. You won't have shit out there, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, like you're talking about Mr. Spielberg. Don't be afraid to say no. I learned with the great Tony Scott, God rest his soul, when I was doing Spy Games. That was my first one on my own. And, I wasn't working for Captain. I was like on my own. I'm out. And I learned then really how to talk to directors because they really want to make it their idea. But I also learned to stick up for yourself when you're right. And what I would tell him is, there's probably like 60 million Americans who have been in the military, related to the military, and all that stuff that have something to do with the military in their lifetime. And I said, if you want them all to get up and walk out of your movie, go ahead and film it that way. And he'd go, oh, all right, we'll try it your way.
I guess not.
And then he'd be like, oh, that's pretty good. Even like you get to Green Day when we're doing that was, they were like, they had a whole direction of when September ends, how that video was going to go. Sorry. And then I just did it like I normally do. Trained Jamie Bell. I trained everybody. Trained everybody, and then we set up the first shot, and it was them patrolling down. Well, it was after I had to go shave my head because the guy who was playing the drill instructor didn't show up, so I was a drill instructor in it. But like the very first combat days when they're patrolling down through this buildings and stuff, and they would look real. And I had probably 19 guys that just came back from Afghanistan. I got off 29 bombs, so I mean they were legit. I had the actor in the middle, which we spent a day and a half training him, and the director went, oh no, we're going all out. This is gonna look like real combat. He was just like completely changed the whole.
It's great.
He's like, I can't believe I would never dream I could direct something like that. That is legit, guys patrolling down the thing, getting shot at, and it was great. In fact, there was a scene. The stunt guys quit. There was a scene where the biggest. I had a thing over my face, but I was on the Humvee shooting the 50 cal when you watch it again, and I had I think anyway, a couple Marines down below, and the stunt guy gets blown up, and one of the Marines just instinctively just like on his hands and knees ran up, grabbed the stunt guy, and dragged him behind the Humvee because we were under fire.
Yeah.
And the stunt guys were all mad. He ruined my thing. He ruined my shot. He came and pulled him out. And I went and watched it, and I go, "Oh no, that's just legit.
Yeah,
That's just legit." And the director was like, "Oh my god, that's because it was slow motion, and they got the Marine like low crawling out to grab the other Marine that's been wounded and pulling back behind." And I go, "You want a grill? There, you got it." And it stayed in. Stunt guy got all mad, and I quit.
Green Day video.
Yeah, when September ends.
It's such a good video.
It is. No, it is.
So
the one video of the year. It's that good.
knowing that I'm now technically 2 degrees from Jamie Bell, who's one of my favorite actors.
Such a nice dude too.
Is he?
That's awesome. He was so like,
I love him.
And he would like cook like in between takes and stuff. They'd come over here, Mr. Bell. Sit down, and he'd be like. And all of us were like hanging off the Humvee. It was out in the middle of the desert. And it was like 110 degrees outside. And he'd just he'd be right in the middle, just hanging out, bullshitting with the guys.
A nice guy.
That's so awesome.
With the guys just got back from, I think they just got back from Iraq. They weren't Afghanistan, they were Iraq. So he was just like hanging out with them, loving it. So yeah, good guy.
Really nice.
I love when you find out your favorites are actually good guys.
Most of them are. Believe it or not.
Most of them are really nice, yeah. I'm very happy to hear that Jamie Bell's not an asshole.
All the good actors, the people that you go, oh my God, that guy's amazing and everything. Samuel Jackson, when I trained him on rules of engagement, he was in my team and I was training him for the nicest guy. I mean, they're all, and they just want to soak everything out of you, and it's like I explained in Fredericksburg, we had, I had Bunch, who was Anglico, I had Garcia, who was in LAR's Light Armored Reconnaissance. You had me, Bullet Sponge. You had Bruce Mortimer, Bullet Sponge. You had Mark Schuster, who was a reserve officer. You had the Vietnam oldies die in Stokey, but every one of us was different. And if you when we watched the show, actor pulled something out of one of us. Yes. You had Barcelona was like all about Freddie Joe. I'm gonna do everything like Freddie Joe, hardcore. Yeah, get up the hill, and then and then you had Scott Gibson pulled a lot from Mike Stokey, more quiet, more talkative, not yelling kind, and it just all of them are, and that's what you want. You want to give them something to pull from you for that realism, for their parts. So, but there's another long story. So there's your 2.5 hours.
Next time.
Yes, we will do this again. This has been.
We have to. We
phenomenal.
Absolutely have to.
Absolutely.
Yes. You just shot to the top of the list of who we want back.
Okay. Now you know I got 3 ex-wives.
That'll do it.
What does Jacqueline always say? That I'm his next wife. She says I'm gonna be his next wife.
Freddie Joe's my next husband.
My next husband. That's what she says. Freddie Joe's my next husband.
Oh yes, she always says it. She called me when we were in Fredericksburg. She called me. She was at a wedding. She's like, please tell me you'll never get married again.
She goes, no, thank you.
She goes, I want to choke everybody. This is horrible.
Oh my god.
God.
She's so funny. She cracks me up.
Say goodbye because we will carry on.
Yep. You say goodbye, and I'll text you some of those pictures from Alexander for your friend.
Yes.
Oh
please.
Yes, thank you. That would be great.
Amazing. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
So.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We had a great time. I had a great time.
I had a blast. We hope you had fun. We really do.
Absolutely.
Spending your afternoon with 2 chicks. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you.
And special thank you, Freddie, for coming and hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Freddie.
And we'll catch everybody real soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.